Yeah, it's actually going to be, I think, a big matchup in the jungle as well to impact those lanes, because Reignover took over so many games during the regular season, and it will play into the Huni vs Impact matchup and the Jensen vs Pobelter matchup. But we haven't seen Meteos in competitive play for since he stepped down late into the summer split of 2015. So he's taken nearly a full year off of competitive play, and his first matchup is against the reigning MVP. So we'll be able to make our snap judgments, but I think a lot of it comes down to that jungle matchup.
Nidalee out. Be surprised to see the Victor or Azir stay up. Bryce has already been banned. We'll see what the last one is. It's actually Maokai, so both Victor and Azir stay. First pick.
We were talking before the show, actually, that Reignover is going to be very comfortable on Rek'Sai.
Yes.
Or any of the old school junglers, and I don't think Reignover necessarily had that great of an adaptation to the Nidalee Kindred meta. So I was expecting Cloud9 to actually just first pick a jungler or force Immortals to ban 2, but with the late ban of Nidalee, it's actually very surprising, because that could have been an early power pick jungler for Cloud9. But basically that just tells me, because of the small Nidalee nerfs, Meteos just either wasn't comfortable playing Nidalee into Rek'Sai, or was actually scared of Reignover's Nidalee. The last ban is quite questionable to me for Cloud9 because of those reasons.
Hey, we also saw some Zac recently as well, so Meteos coming back. Maybe he'll bring up the Zac as well. The Rek'Sai is taken, like we were saying, for Reignover. That stops a bit of his early aggression, trying to get into that top lane to help Huni, who has a 56% kill participation record, or I'm sorry, first blood record with the team in that top lane for the regular season of spring.
Yeah, over half the games Huni was getting first blood. Goes to show how quickly Immortals was jumping out to leads in a lot of their games. But with the Rek'Sai taken away and 2 junglers banned, the normal fallback that we've seen throughout most of the world, since it's very common to see Kindred and Nidalee banned, is an Elise. But this is also Reignover we're talking about, who's played a ton of Olaf in the past, and I wonder if he's going to think about breaking that out in the jungle a little bit later in the draft.
He may even Graves as well, still left up on the board. Echo Ashe is going to be picked up, giving Turtle even the option to initiate in this competition that says Echo already wants to go in.
Yeah, so, all right, they're picking Echo. Thank goodness. Now, would we go AP or tank Echo? We thought he was going to be doing this in the playoffs. He decided to finally pick up on the tanks, and most likely seeing...
Well, they banned his Lucian, so...
a tank Echo. Yeah, they banned his Lucian. No, we could have also first picked that if you're Cloud9, but I like their first pick, Rek'Sai. And the Ashe is something that we've seen a lot of over in Korea. The AD carry meta constantly evolving, especially with the Lucian being banned out, and some of the new itemization choices if he wants to go Black Cleaver. We'll see how Immortals use that to initiate.
Looking at the Bard pickup, now for Mu and MSI, we all know the story. We all know the range supports are getting a lot of love right now, and it looks like it may be what gets a little bit of love here for Cloud9, with Meteos picking up the Gragas.
Interesting. Top lane Gragas, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah, he's locked in the Gragas for sure, but that could very well just be for the top lane matchup. It's something we saw a little bit of in the playoffs when the top lane tanks were happening, but then we saw none of it at MSI. It had really kind of fallen off a cliff in terms of popularity with some of the Iceborne Gauntlet and Grasp of the Undying changes, but it looks like Impact's going to want to throw that Gragas in the top lane, unless they got something entirely different planned. I've seen a little bit of mid lane AP Gragas and solo queue, so there's still some flex possibilities there.
Is everything. Cloud9 may try to do it. Jensen actually kind of had trouble switching champions back and forth. Took time to get good on the Azir. Maybe he's been pocket testing something out we don't know of. And there's the Karma, and the Olaf does actually get locked in for Reignover.
Hey, we talked about it.
Yep.
Maybe he gets a chance to run the new and improved Ghost. You can get your cooldown on Ghost incredibly low with the Mastery as well as the cooldown boots. Basically more than half the cooldown of Flash if they don't have any things reducing the cooldown of that.
Yeah.
And also Karma to speed up outside of having that cooldown if he wants to keep the Flash. Karma's been incredibly popular in the North American LCS. Picked in all 5 of the games, or it had been picked in all 4 of the games leading up to the final game yesterday.
Biofos had some pretty crazy initiations with that. See a lot more supports. Less tempered coming in this season. Saw the best of 3s allowing people to do a little more aggressive play. Love seeing it, and this team from Immortals shows that they want to go a bit aggressive. Looking for Cloud9's final 2 picks here. The Azir may just be one of them. And Sneaky left to choose an AD carry for himself with quite a few left up.
Yeah. Interesting how Caitlyn is seeing more and more play And that just kind of completes what could be a good poke and siege composition for them, with the Azir and Caitlyn being able to set up shop outside a turret and having Gragas there for the potential disengage. So, I like how that composition came together in the last 2 picks for Cloud9.
Karma's already there. You know you'd love to pick Soraka still.
Just throw Karma mid lane. No harm done, man.
Remember, this could also be Huni's champion coming in for the last pick, if he wants to go against what he thinks is a Gragas in that top lane.
Could be. We did even see Adrian playing the Karma in the playoffs, so it's not super new. Like you said, they still have the chance of putting the Echo in the mid lane as an assassin choice. Echo actually a decent lane matchup against the Azir.
Yep. LeBlanc just try for what would be the counter. It's more of an even match now, the way things have skilled out. But he's going to take the LeBlanc.
Yeah. See if he changes the summoner spells up at all. Currently going with the teleport LeBlanc. You see that a little bit in the LPL, but usually the LeBlanc will bring a Ignite to try and get more lane pressure on the Azir.
Yep.
Otherwise, the Azir can shove in fairly easily without getting kill threat. But there's also the epic power of double TP if they want to try and capitalize off some Ash Arrow ganks in the bottom lane.
Yep.
Summoner choices are actually kind of interesting here. I'm wondering if Reignover is going to keep Flash and if Pop-Up is going to keep Teleport.
Heals well for Jensen so far. I'm really keeping my eyes on if Immortals can find a glaring weakness here between Meteos and Impact in the top lane. 2 different players coming into the lineup. The communication may not be there. We heard it was already been a little difficult with Impact in tight situations, but if Reignover can find that and just kind of plant himself inside that caveat that they would have, it's going to be real tough for Cloud9 to get off their ground running.
Exactly. Communication is the biggest question for Cloud9. Impact was, he's always tried to be a leader on teams, but now when he comes in and he's the only native Korean speaker on this team trying to speak a second language, it's going to be a real battle to see what type of communication they have. Reaper, they've talked about how much he's helped the team communicate, but we're going to need to see that come to fruition on the Rift here.
All right, we are about ready to roll into this 3-game set. Let us know who you think is going to take down the Nexus in Game 1. I love that we can say that now by tweeting at LOL Esports with the hashtag C9win or the hashtag IMTwin. You get to vote a whole bunch. 3 times as much, possibly, as we get into game. The battle arena is on fire, and we're ready to get in. Cloud9 versus Immortals, and we are on the Rift.
Oh, baby. Yeah, so we're going to get to see Wild Turtles Ashe. I wonder how the laning phase is going to swing, if we're going to see standard lanes. So many changes happened in the mid-season Riv. Double jungling has been diminished in effectiveness because there was no experience sharing on jungle camps. So either the top laner gets really far behind in experience, which you don't think Immortals is going to want to do because Immortals always tries to put Huni in favorable matchups, so you're more expected than a normal team to have standard lanes trying to be enforced by Immortals and having Huni in a solo lane directly against Impact's Gragas.
Seems to be the way the statistics are going to play out for Immortals as well. Like we were saying, the first blood kill participation really in favor of Huni, mostly Immortals side in general. Everybody fans out here for the start to get some line of scrimmage wards out. And we'll see how they begin this game. Like we said, we thought that Rek'Sai was taken by Meteos to get it Reignover, but we're still looking to see if Reignover can find a way into that defensive Cloud9. Saw a lot of games yesterday where it was just mid lane pushing, a bit of roam from the mid laners, and then another game where it was just junglers and top laners kind of taking over. So we've seen both styles coming out of the sets on day 1 and Friday.
Exactly, and looking at the very early beginnings, we can actually see Adrian and Wild Turtle looking to stop Sneaky and Bunny from taking the camp, but that's a really dangerous face check by Adrian.
A lot of face checks as well in the past day. Adrian getting hit up on this one. Energy took some damage to just about the same thing yesterday, so teams a little more relaxed during the early game, not taking as much precaution has definitely cost them.
This one definitely not as disastrous as what we saw in the Envy versus Energy series yesterday, because Adrian took about 250 damage, but he did come to lane with 3 potions, so each one of those will heal him for 150. He'll actually only need to chug 1 for now, and as long as he doesn't take harass, the regen and the level ups can bring him right back up. Karma's also one of the few supports who can tango with Bard level 1. that has actually been one of Bard's biggest strengths early, is he can charge up with some meeps and have an incredibly powerful level 1. But Karma has her ultimate at level 1 as well, so it's actually one of the few supports who can trade equally with Bard, and sometimes even favorably.
I expect this lane to sting for a while for Impact. He may miss a few CS there, but you're so right. Watch, like, getting hit by the meeps, knowing you almost can't take it, but that Karma lane is something that can stand toe-to-toe, and Adrian knows the exact kind of way you can play that ranged situation. Sneaky and Wild Turtle, no worse for the wear there, both farming completely fine as the supports just go at it toe-to-toe. And the mid lane's already pushed here. Jensen's trying to get it pushed fast, and little ring around the rosy. They just miss each other.
This is really huge for Reignover because he's almost certain that he didn't get spotted right there, even though a ward had been gone for. And Meteos tried a cute jungle path on Rek'Sai. This is what a lot of junglers can do nowadays to try and maximize experience early on in the jungle. Pobelter goes in for a little bit of harass on Jensen. But to explain what happened in the jungle there a little bit more and why Reignover outsmarted Meteos here, is the small camps have about the same experience as the blue or the red buff early on, but you can take the small camps faster. So Meteos tried to skip blue buff on Rek'Sai and then go back, and since he kind of recognized he might be getting invaded, he comes back a little bit later. Now Meteos has lost his efficiency, whereas Reignover has still gained his. Reignover now with a level advantage, as well as a longer duration blue buff, which can help his clear speed on Olaf even more.
And that's what we were kind of looking for. Can this weakness be made up now? Meteos, you don't necessarily need that blue buff for the blue buff, but you need the experience. That's where he's really hurt now, and his jungle's empty at this point, so he's just going to be going back for now.
And I think what Meteos' plan was is actually to leave that buff up for a little while and then give it to Jensen really early. So they desync the power spikes of the mid laners and allow Jensen to shove in Pobelter until Jensen could buy a magic resist item. But now that breakpoint has been missed a little bit. Pobelter's already got his magic resist item. Jensen hasn't been back to base yet, and that favors not only Reignover, but also Pobelter.
And we saw it happen. It was all only because of a few seconds off of being able to place that ward when Jensen pushed the lane. Reignover had already made his way into the jungle. See how they continue to build off that. Bot lane has not stopped trying to build off the damage they have. Bunny Fufu, even with a depleted mana bar, tries to get the extra bit in. Sitting low right now, but it's pretty much just farming for Sneaky. No real lead towards the bot lane, but no jungle pressure either.
Yeah, Infernal Dragon will be the first Drake, by the way.
Yep.
Reignover with a decent advantage onto Meteos. I'm going to be interested to watch these guys battle throughout the best of 3. Mainly because when Meteos was at his best, his jungling style was very, very efficient, which I think is one of the things that defines Reignover's jungling as well, is just being in the right place. Reignover's a little bit more counter-jungle focused than Meteos was, but Meteos was always very efficient. So they're both, at their core, farm-heavy junglers who can also apply pressure after getting farmed. And now they're kind of set to clash.
There's the Mantrid shield. Reignover's getting the tank in. He gets Summoner heal out as well. Huni's going to come in and try to do, but he's got no mana on the entry. Huni goes down, getting way overzealous in the play.
Yeah, I think that was a really poor play by Huni. He actually completes his teleport, whereas Impact wasn't going down to the bottom lane. And then in a straight-up 3v3, he phase dives into the turret. And it was a heady play by Meteos to get the flash knockup while Huni was still in turret range, but Huni should not have been in turret range because he was never going to be able to secure a kill with that play. And they give up first blood to Meteos, which makes up for the blue buff that had been taken away.
Just one more time. Reignover gets hit there. They feel like he's got the tank, so Huni says, I'll take a shot?
Yeah, but Reignover had to drop aggro because one more shot would have killed him, and Meteos very easily picks up the kill. So big mistake early by Huni there.
Trying to go aggressive, see if he can pull it back this time. Sometimes that did get the better of Huni throughout games. He'll fall behind, so he wants it even a little bit more. See if he can temper that aggression. Pobelter making sure he tries to dodge the soldiers, but he's just hanging around the outer rim there and takes each shot. This lane, though, 50 to 50. Very even across the board pretty much throughout all the lanes here. We've only seen Reignover be able to get something, and really, Immortals wasn't able to work off that.
Yeah, and that ward placement for Jensen, Reignover's walked through a couple
of
times. Even a double, looks like a double pink ward, accidentally placed in the brush, or just a pink ward and a normal ward. So Immortals over-warding a little bit. Not the crisp, clean play that you wanted Immortals to start out with for the split.
Just a quick push out there. Jensen recognized the aggression, but Pobelter just wants his blue anyways, so a bit of a breathing moment here for both teams as Jensen's just going to push up his lane and try to figure out where else he can go. Probably figuring that top ward is now seen. That's not going to help him too much. They have a good amount of vision to allow them to know where Immortals still is in the darkness. So safe play here from C9 after that first aggression from Immortals.
Man, a little bit of a difference in the itemization choices. Across the board, the main thing I want to point out here for Reignover is that he rushed his cooldown boots. That puts his Ghost on what is now a 135-second cooldown, or 2 minutes and 15 seconds. For comparison, Jensen's Flash is on a 300-second or 5-minute cooldown.
Right.
So if he's able to burn a Flash from a lane, he can do 2 repeat ganks with the Summoner spell before the Flash would be up again if Reignover times it properly. So that's what I like about Ghost, generally. You can see Reignover really valuing that reduced cooldown as well as movement speed early.
Yeah.
Then the other thing I want to point out is just the Catalyst on Huni. Not necessarily going straight for a tank build, but might be going for the AP Echo if that turns into Rod of Ages.
Trying to get that damage out. Very much a Huni style type of thing. Bot lanes level 6s now. They might be waiting on Adrian. It is a 5 and a 6 as well for C9. It's been pretty volatile bot lane for nobody going down in this area. It was just Huni that gave the assist over to Sneaky, so it didn't catapult him ahead too far either.
Yeah, lots of relatively aggressive trading though.
Yeah. I like it. We saw it pretty much out of all series.
They're both supports going with the exact same itemization, early Sightstones. Cloud9's going to hope to outpace the wards on the map a little bit, especially early game. With Reignover doing his Lucidity Boots rush, he has not only not gone for Tracker's Knife yet, no Sightstone. Meteos has a full Sightstone, so
that's true.
You can already see the wards kind of littering around that Infernal Dragon.
Yeah, definitely putting a lot of focus on that. With no presence really in the bot lane too much, Reignover's going to start doing as much clearing as he can. He should be able to get the second one before it goes down. Scuttle Crab control as well over to Cloud9. Reignover is just return on investment here for that Razorbeak, and then just the path he is taking. Bot lane's starting to back, so it looks like Immortals is going to hold off for a second here and may actually try to tango in the bot lane. Huni's teleport is almost up, so that play is a possibility if something goes for Dragon here. Blue buff over to Jensen, so everything's kind of spelling out. We could get a fight soon.
Yeah, and I'd say the Infernal Drake is definitely perceived to be the strongest one. Very early in the game, it's not, because it's a percentage increase, an 8% increase in your attack damage and your ability power, which will get stronger later in the game. But that doesn't take away from how important it actually is to get, so you get the power in the late game, even if it doesn't give you super immediate payoff.
Everybody's trying to roll the Mountain Drake. We have 500 gold lead. Tempered Fate forces the Flash. Not necessarily an ultimate they would need for the Dragon, but it sure will help with what kind of initiation Immortals can bring to the table.
Yeah, so in the very short term, ultimate for Flash, if a team fight is to happen, usually favors the team that burned the Flash, but obviously the ultimate will come back up much sooner. So Cloud9 wants to wait for Tempered Fate to come back up again. Then would be a time.
It's all about the long time.
Dragon fights. But Reignover and Huni looking to make a move. So is Jensen.
Jensen holds on the trigger. He does not Emperor's Divide, but it may be pulled here in the top lane. Impact already backs off. They don't get a chance there, but now seeing two top. Great move by Impact, pulling back, feeling the pressure. Dragon is going to be going over to Cloud9 here. With the warding they've been putting on the bottom side, they almost deserve it at this point.
Yeah.
They've been keeping that up quite well.
And a very classic type trade here, where Cloud9 takes bottom because Reignover is top. Cloud9 takes the Dragon because Immortals is top taking a turret. It helps Huni a little bit, but add that to the fact that Pobelth has been getting pushed in by Jensen, and Cloud9 is going to be keeping the gold even, as well as getting the Infernal Dragon. So great job by Jensen shoving in Pobelth so heavily.
That's what it's been. Like we said, some series with just the zillion pushes from Bjergsen against the Victor, and now the Exir against the LeBlanc, who can't exactly trade back the push as well. Results in mid-turret. Where are they going to go from here? Cloud9 looks like they want even more vision. Third one's just going to drop, or second one, I should say. First one was Immortals top lane, but they're going to ring around the rosy here, try and get all these outer turrets down. Yeah,
and I mean, Jensen getting that turret early is just so huge. I think that was for a couple of different reasons. One of them was the recall timings of the champions, because obviously Reignover actually denied the blue buff from Jensen early, so you would have expected Pobelth to do a little bit better.
That's true.
But when Jensen backed very early on, he had 2 Doran's Rings and a Cloak versus just 1 Doran's Ring and a Cloak, which gives him a little bit more pushing power. Add that to the Summoner spell choice we talked about early in the game, where Pobelter brings Teleport, and he doesn't have kill pressure on Jensen. So when Jensen was able to itemize early defense, as well as 2 Dorans to push, he consistently stayed pushed up in that lane, shift the turret down time and time again, and eventually was able to push it down from Pobelter. So really well played by Jensen to get enough chip damage and keep the lane in a position so that when Meteos was arriving, they could take the turret.
I thought that would be one of the bans as well, the Azir on the side of Jensen. Something I just said he had to build up to, but definitely showed very, very well on it towards the end of the season and has held that pretty strong throughout the wait, if you will, here in their boot camp over to Korea. Right now, still pushing up quite actually heavily here on mid lane against Pobelter. Not too much warding around him. Echo, or Huni rather, on the top lane, pushing in Impact still, waiting to see what he can provide for the team in these fights, but he's not really that far behind if you look at it. It seems like Huni has been taking it to him all lane, but Impact's holding.
Yeah, Impact is even in CS. I would still say Huni's had the pressure advantage. That's
for sure.
Because Reignover has been ganking, and Huni also has to come back from that really bad play he made in the bottom lane when he gave up first blood.
That's true. That's true.
And he's still up in CS. So the Rod of Ages Echo giving a little bit of pain to Impact. But like you said, Impact keeping up in CS and will just be a tank in teamfights.
We'll be seeing soon. Nobody's really grouped up just yet. It's all been the cross-map plays as these outer turrets are still up and slowing things down. Back lane, or bot lane is already back. Sneaky 127 to Wild Turtles 131. Those two actually consistently either plus or minus 3 on their opponent throughout the spring split, so keeping true to that as well.
See Daisy. The Wolves reset on Meteos. Going back for more. Gets some counter jungling in of his own.
Trying to deny as much as possible. Get in the hair of Reignover a little bit as well after that early game pressure.
Well, Reignover's been really good about finding multiple wards with his Raptor buff. Can't quite get the duration. Oh, they get sneaky with the teleport.
Oh, the net. He tried to dodge it for a bit of movement. Can he make it to the portal? He could not. The magical journey is taken by Huni. Parallel Convergence is in, and the Tempered Fate is going to be flashed away by Huni. He's looking for the kill. They put it down with Pobelter, and now the tank is on to Reignover. He is gigantic, and they have all day to hang out under this turret. Reignover throws an undertow backwards to pick up a kill for himself, and the next one goes to Huni, as it is a 5-mana Mortal Swarm in the bot lane.
Whoa, and they get 4 kills for it, so everything we had talked about from Pobelter having teleport and how it was hurting them from the laning phase is corrected right there with the Ash Arrow into double teleport. That is actually Immortal's whole strategy coming into this game, was Ash Arrow and just mob bottom lane. They double teleport at close to exactly the right time. They both pop out. They prioritize the targets with Pobelter going for one and Huni going for the other. And then you're wondering if this is going to be a repeat of Huni overdiving, but they had already killed the Caitlyn, so the majority of the DPS was gone. Azir was not there because Jensen had been pushing out the mid lane, and they just get to sit under this turret. This time they properly managed turret aggro. Meteos is trapped, and 4 kills come out from a nice double TP and a successful Ash Arrow. Great execution of their composition right there from Immortal.
A lot of love for Huni here in the top. He gets a good stun on Parallel Convergence, but gets trapped into the fight as he goes for the dive onto Bunny Fufu. Great placement by Sneaky and the team to get that down.
Yeah, and Jensen catches Turtle as well, so Cloud9 is trying to strike back a little bit. Jensen is by his lonesome, but the rest of his team is helping him out.
The plethora of wards are paying off for Cloud9. Throwing the far sights forward and keeping the sightstones coming. They're getting a few here and there.
Yeah, and Azir turret ends up going down at the end of that one. But basically, as Immortals used all of their resources to go down and gank bottom lane, Jensen wasn't even involved in that fight, so he's able to find Wild Turtle in the jungle and punish. And a big roam up top punishes Huni for being a little bit overzealous. And the game actually stays quite close after Immortals seem to just kind of have that switch that they pulled to get 4 kills in the bottom lane. They end up getting 2 back.
Jensen being alive picked up quite a bit of CS on that one, and now a kill for himself will catapult forward. Quick Sork boots by for him, and here's how it happened.
Yeah, with the gank already happening in the top lane, Wild Turtle did not expect Jensen to just be chilling there. Azir ult into the wall, Ash Arrow to the face.
He got his flash. He got his flash.
There we go. They did it. 100% blame Wild Turtle for that one because he would have expected Azir to be coming up with the dive. You usually expect all hands on deck when someone's going for a dive, but really smart of Jensen to wait for the Immortals response there. Wild Turtle.
Blue over to Jensen. Top lane is going to be pushing in Cloud9's favor. They don't really have to worry about that right now. They're worried about a mid lane fight. Seeing Reignover peek out from the side, though. They still want it. Turtle goes down immediately. Bunny Fufu is going to be the next as Emperor's Divide is actually keeping Impact from going around here. Fight's pretty broken up now. Huni back in with his Chrono Break. And that resets everything just a little bit as it's now 4 members on the side of Immortals facing 3 of Cloud9.
And Immortals actually come out on top there. Wild Turtle got the small stun because his Ash Arrow came out, and Jensen has shifted all the way in, so they found themselves staring right at an angry Olaf who ended up picking up a double kill.
Yeah.
So now Immortals has to counter push off this.
Kind of seemed like they were in, let's keep going for it when they could have pulled out, but it could cost them more here. Impact trying to hold the turret as much as possible, but it's a 4v2 right now. And Impact's going to get tethered in by Adrian. The kill to be finished. Huni makes it over finally, but it is going to cost him his life in the end. That Z-Drive Convergence almost getting him out.
Yep, really low mana on Adrian as well,
Resonance,
so he couldn't help speed him out.
Yep.
So it ends up being a 1-for-1. Not a great turret defense there by Impact. It was 2v4. They should have just given the turret up. But he tries to stay a little bit too long. So definitely some early season mishaps, you would say, coming from both teams. Huni not super clean on some of his dives, and Cloud9 a little bit of miscommunication, but being able to pick up his second Drake is very fortunate.
Ocean Drake going over. That will be for Cloud9. So they have 2 now for themselves. Ocean and Infernal will help even more as they get towards the late game here. We'll see how they continue to use those. So more or less just help them hang out in lane.
Yeah, I think Ocean Drake is really, really good, especially for Cloud9, who's going to be trying to set up siege situations. So if they take any poke from LeBlanc trying to dash in and land a few spells, or a Karma Q that goes and connects, or a volley, they can just back up, get out of champion combat, they get that extra percentage regen, and they'll be able to stay on the map for longer in the mid game, which is really, really potent.
Essence Reaver finished up for Turtle. Hurricane finished up for Sneaky. So a few core items are on the board. Both junglers are Cinder Hulk, as we would expect. The Righteous Glory for Reignover. We haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah, he wants to go fast. He's
gotta go fast.
You know, he's the only guy that plays a lot of Olaf in competitive, so he's still going to have his own way of building it, and he kind of dictates what is good on this champion. He knows it better than anyone. Definitely some efficiency questions with that item. 500 health, 300 mana. And they changed a little bit in the off-season, or in the mid-season. It gives him 75% move speed when going towards enemies, but it doesn't haste the whole team. So he's going to be kind of going on solo missions.
That'll work. That sounds like Reignover. Huni will probably join just a little bit after, or Huni.
Yeah, well, they can double teleport in as Reignover's flying in. Ghost in his Righteous Glory.
Sneaky can't really aggress with the team. He was just taken out, so Meteos and Bunny Fufu forced to fight by themselves here. Not enough minions to take the top turret. Immortals is kind of fizzling out this push here as they looked for a pick, but they're not in a rush to really get anything here. 3,000 gold lead for themselves. They're working it quite nicely after a little bit of a mishap in the early game.
Yeah, and now Immortals trying to push all 3 waves. One of their trademarks during the regular season was the fact that they just always had the waves in the right position. So even if the kills were close, even if it looked like they were dying, their gold lead was always huge. And then every once in a while they get a few kills and just take down like 3 or 4 turrets directly after, and suddenly the gold lead was 10 to 15,000. This game though, C9 is still hanging pretty tight. They also have the incredibly potent team fight potential of Azir and Caitlyn in the very late game if it gets there. But I think for Cloud9, the challenge is going to be staying controlled against all of the initiation potential of the Ash Arrow as well as the double TP from Immortals.
It's going to be so difficult, as you're talking about the lanes. Top, bottom still haven't dropped, so those are pushing in even faster each time. So Immortals is just kind of have a lot of time to play with in those side lanes. Pole Belts are already back to the top to get that push, and Huni hovering bottom. Yeah,
the only turret Cloud9 has taken was the one that Jensen grabbed really early on. So the rest of the lanes haven't had much pressure, and there's another Ash Arrow.
Oh, Sneaky gets found again with the initiation from Turtle. They're able to do it from so far away. And Cloud9 is not expecting it. Reignover looking for that quick 1v1, but they're actually getting a lot of pressure on this and may turn around, find themselves Baron.
The accuracy on Wild Turtle's Ash Arrows are super key right here because as soon as a Mikhails gets pulled for Bunny Fufu or Sneaky has time to build the QSS, it's going to lose its effectiveness, but they've been able to get big rewards out of the last few, and now they go straight for Baron. It's going to be tricky, though. Bardalt can stall it if Cloud9 wants to fight.
Huni very low. Chrono Break to start the fight. Looks like they're going to Tempered Fate it. They pull back for now. Adrian gets killed by Baron. Great damage as he was held back by Jensen. Reignover very low to go down. C9 fighting this one well. Impact flashes away, and Jensen's doing what he can. A triple, looking for a quadra from Jensen. Pobelter's on the left, and they almost know it immediately as he phases away with his distortion. That's the quadra kill for Jensen in the Baron attempt by Immortals.
Jensen does an insane amount of work in that fight. You knew Immortals was getting a little bit dicey by going for that with just a 5v4 in a pretty close game. And we're not even in the late game yet, and the teamfight potential of Jensen is already there. So he played that fight spectacularly. Yeah. The Baron that did kill Adrian was also because there was a very tricky-to-see Sand Soldier that Jensen had snuck in there from over the wall. So you can see the very start of this fight, Huni ults back, and then you can see Jensen gets pretty close, and he throws the Sand Soldier in there and gets 2 hits full onto Adrian. So he actually procs Thunderlords as well as when Baron's hitting him. And then it's really just all Jensen in this fight as he's able to also take down Wild Turtle while Pobelter was trying to threaten him off with damage. Doesn't get fooled by the clone. He's able to finish off the kill with yet another hit.
Huni was in Penta health range as well. He just got the better of Impact and was able to make it out. But 6-1-0 now. It's like Jensen has been going back and basically buying full items each time. Finally able to make an impact with one of them. His Immortals bit off way more than they could shoot.
Yeah, last year the All-LCS first team was Huni, Reignover, Wild Turtle, Adrian. 4/5 of the Immortal starting roster, although many people thought Aphromoo and Piglet should have been there, but it was 4/5. And then Jensen in the mid lane, right over for Pobelter. And you're kind of seeing why right here, because Jensen can be such a high performer in critical situations. Really, the main reason they're winning this game, from his lane pressure onto Pobelter, being the only turret Cloud9 has taken even still to that quadra kill. But now, TP from Huni. They're trying to lock down Jensen.
Oh, as would I. Jensen goes right down. That kill, much needed to Wild Turtle. Put some cash in his pocket. And now they're on to Meteos, really looking to do some damage here. Possibly finalize another kill. He is a tanky target, and they're going to have to give up on that. Impact is in. The team tries to get away. Reignover right into a cupcake. Goes down. The ultimate already quarter down. Don't know why he tried to dive so hard. The eyes onto Huni, but the eyes could also be on the rest of the map as a big wave is mid, and they're pushing Immortals back. Oh, Meteos rushes out with the Void Rush, and now they are onto the map for another Ocean Drake.
Oh, that is so huge. The fact that Cloud9 have now controlled the first 3 Drakes, and the fact that they get double Ocean, which really means if they don't die immediately in fights, I feel like they can just back up, but now be getting 8% of their missing health and mana every 8 seconds out of combat from this Ocean Drake.
So nice for Meteos. He just goes into the ground. He's like, oh.
Yeah, already healing from Rek'Sai, and now just going to be able to heal to full. And a turnaround there from Impact, so the best play he's made all game for sure. Being able to hit Reignover onto a cupcake just to ensure the doom. And we got ourselves a game here. Immortals with the gold lead and some of the aggression, but Cloud9 with the scaling with 3 Dragons as well as Azir. Here Jensen gets trapped in the Echo Stun. Huni then ults back a little bit prematurely. I don't think he necessarily needed to do that because he needed it as a backup plan for this dive. Impact biding his time. Goes in and just flops Reignover right over that trap. Bloop. The Immortals have to back away.
Reignover ult up, Huni ult up, teleports halfway down for Huni and almost up for Pobelter, so no place to really be had there. They kind of lost control over the map. Still having Pobelter go to the top lane though. Farm out the top lane every time he can. He's got quick movement to come back to the mid lane if possible, but Huni as well, trying to do janitorial duty on those bot lane waves.
Yeah, and it's actually really tricky for Immortals to set up teleport plays because their wards in this game are really poor. They only have the 1 Sightstone, which is normal, but then they've also gone Chilling Smite on Reignover, and up until Huni completing these items and buying a peak ward, there were 3 people on Immortals that had full inventories with no room for pink wards. So not only did they not have Sightstone coverage, they couldn't even get pink ward coverage on the map. And you need sight wards or pink wards in order to channel teleports on for flank opportunities. So really their only way of finding fights is that Wild Turtle somehow sees them with Hawkshot and then sees them to get the ultimate off. So we can kind of see some of the things that are stalling Immortals in this game, from taking that gold lead to more prominence.
Well, here you go. If they always have the minion waves pushed, then you can teleport to the minion.
Then you can teleport to the minion. I mean, you can see right now, they're going for a flank, maybe, but they're so far away, and Cloud9, they have to respect it. Echo and LeBlanc can sneak up on them.
They have such good wards behind them as well. They're able to deter this hit from Echo here. That pink ward, he just walked over, no time to even clear it. And they're ready to set back up again and assess the situation. Pobelter's now to the bot lane, so aggression is definitely a possibility, but there still is the disengage arrow on the side of Immortals.
Yeah, Pobelter knows he's got teleport, so he's just going to try and get some easy damage on this turret in the bottom lane. Prompt response from Impact, who also has teleport. And actually, Pobelter's got to do a lot of juking because he cannot kill Impact. Oh, Impact misses ultimate. That's unfortunate.
About that juking.
Pretty easy. Impact, Wisp, body slam, and then ultimate.
Well played, though. You gotta give credit to Pobelter as well. Making his moves unknown to his opponent. Actually, not too unknown. Down to half health now as he still tries to tango with Impact. The teleport's there. It doesn't look like C9 wants to fight off more than they can chew, knowing that those teleports may be available. 230, 220. The CS is being cleaned up pretty much everywhere around the map accordingly. Jensen still kept that lead from not being in the bottom fight, and it's extended a little bit. But since that fight, Immortals have said, hey, Jensen's pretty strong. We probably shouldn't fight him right now when he's 6-1. So they killed him once, and they're waiting for that next chance.
Yeah, but now he's completed Rylai's Void Staff.
Yeah,
and
it'll be a little bit harder.
Meanwhile, Sneaky's approaching the really powerful point in the game for Caitlyn. Once he completes that second Zeal item, he'll be hitting the 70 to 80% crit thresholds on Caitlyn.
Yeah.
Crit headshots with the Hurricane, very frequent and very painful. So really liking Cloud9's chances as this game moves on. Impact is going to have to make sure to place his spells properly. I've never liked the way Gragas scales in the late game, especially when you compare him to what Echo will be able to bring. But if Impact can land the right type of ultimate onto Wild Turtle, none of those scaling problems will matter because they'll instantly be able to kill Wild Turtle. Definitely, Cloud9 has definitely been able to weather the storm from those 4 kills Immortals got in the bottom lane.
Back and forth for Huni and Impact. Doesn't look like much is going to come out of this tank fight. A lot of pings towards the top side. Both teleports are up, who could be faster. Rek'Sai turret, their tunnel's getting taken down, so they can't Void Rush into a spot behind. Immortals, looks like they actually want to pressure for a fight again. They kind of want to test the waters and see what Cloud9 can bring to the table. Bot lane should be taken down slowly by Impact as all this is being set up. If he decides to back.
Impact, you know, still just the one turret taken down for Cloud9.
Yeah.
So if they're going to win this game, it's going to have to be off of a big team fight win, and then probably a push. Could also be a sign of another shot calling not necessarily being as clean. They're just kind of reacting to what Immortals is doing to pull off some of these plays, but still a lot of the talent there for Cloud9 to make these plays happen. There's the second turret. Here we go.
This is money on this outside that could finish these Frozen Hearts, these other items that these guys are trying to build up here and get themselves into a position where they can take these fights without feeling too scared. Already pushing down mid lane, trying to dictate this one. Huni's brought to the bottom. And it looks like Impact may try to just waltz over here. He's going to try to play the Fog of War game and mess with Huni as the team tries to take mid now.
Yeah, definitely been fightless for a while, given enough time for everyone to have all of their summoner spells up. Next fight could definitely be very explosive. 31 minutes in, death timers are getting longer. The 4th dragon is spawned. It's the Cloud Dragon. So Cloud9 would be able to just kind of back up and take that if they choose to. But Pobelter looking for a flank.
Ooh. Jensen quickly back and forth. They dodge. Meteos gets hit by the arrow. Reignover's trying to go right for the back line, and he is going to get obliterated in his attempt. They put the turret up, and they cannot get past the Cloud9 defense. Huni's on the outside trying to poke in from the wing now. and it was just an instant wall that Immortals hit when they attempted that.
Reignover just not enough power to go through. It looked like they were getting a lot of damage on a Jensen. All attempts were to make it there. Cloud9 actually used both Jensen's and Sneaky's heal to try and keep him alive right there, even with the diminishing returns on heal. But it does keep him up. That means they kill Pobelt and Reignover, and now they might look to turn for Baron. They're pretty low, though. Maybe just a recall.
It would be scary. Even though it's not a 50-50, you have to wonder how much damage you can get from the outside of.
Oh, boy. That's a Meteos behind them.
All the ruse. Drag Assault is not up, but they may have the control. Huni's going to be hit here. Chrono Break goes back. It's enough damage to not deter, rather, Cloud9. They stay in the fight knowing they're going to capitalize on 2 more kills. It's Wild Turtle and Huni, but now Reignover's up. Does he go face first into the Baron pit for the 50-50?
And look at the regen that Cloud9's been able to get because of those 2 Ocean Drakes as well. When they fall back to return that fight, they all come back at full health by the time Meteos salts back in. Now, Reignover going for a steal. They're just going to try and kill him.
Oh, he's like, I can hit it, I can do this. Oh, he stole it! Pobelter came in and added the extra damage necessary. Immortals working together.
They'd taken it to 1500 and they chose to stop damage on it, but Reignover just popped his ultimate and his ghost, and then Pobelter and Reignover combined just bursted it down into smite range and took it. Oh, what a clutch Baron steal there for Immortals. Like, I actually think Cloud9 did the correct thing of like, oh yeah, by the way, stop damage on Baron, turn and kill the jungler. But Immortals, I guess Cloud9 didn't stop damage early enough. They
damned if you do,
around
damned if you don't.
Yeah, but that'll be 4th Dragon for Cloud9 as well. Now they move fast.
Oh, do they get this one as well? Pobelter will tank it up, get that for himself. So, cash money around the board. And a Cloud Drake being picked up. Gotta go fast.
Yeah.
See what happens. So Adrian's here toying with them, pulling a few off. So the shield.
So we need to pay attention to the Baron health right there. He speeds them up. Like they peeled off at 1500, and they just burst it. Pobelter uses a spell combo, and Reignover smites from 650. And Meteos was already peeled out to try and stop Reignover, so he may not have even been looking at the Baron at the time.
Yep. It was Impact was the closest one, pretty much to it.
Yeah, really clutch steal because Cloud9 with the double Ocean Drake and the Infernal Drake. Once they added the Baron buff right there, they would have been able to set up very prolonged and dangerous sieges since Caitlyn and Azir have been getting so powerful that it would have really forced Immortals into like really, really difficult initiation attempts that have to be completely all in because if they just poke him, it's not going to be enough. But now with the Baron, it makes it so Cloud9's siege isn't nearly as powerful. And Immortals can even get some split lane pressure because they have Baron-empowered minions on multiple people.
Looking good all around. Adrian picking up his Ardent Sensor. Give the team some assistance in those shields. Just one for himself and a teammate there as he mantras out as they poke back. Meteos so tanky right now as well. Dead Man's Play, Spirit Visage, and another Chain Vest on top of it. But Cloud9 respecting Immortals here, but it's really giving them a lot of map control. Huni to the top side, and Pobelter really not leaving a side lane either. Yeah.
The 4 Drakes are definitely the defining factor in this game. Immortal's going to have to pull up some magic or just a really clean initiation.
Yeah, we got Elder now.
To get anything done, but the windows that Immortals was capitalizing on to get their early lead that they kind of lost when they went for that Baron that resulted in Jensen quadra kill. Oh, Impact is looking to kill Pobelter. Go for the one with the blue buff. They both have blue buff. Oh no, what do you do? Pobelter gets away.
That's right.
But anyway, the Ash Arrow is not nearly as effective anymore because there's a QSS on Sneaky and a Mikhail's onto Bunny Fufu. So even if they can land an Ash Arrow onto Jensen, Bunny can Mikhail's him to allow him to shift out. And his flash is almost back off of cooldown. So much more difficult for Immortals to get any type of lockdown in these fights.
There's a lot of safety as well in the Zhonya's for a Azir as well. An Azir, I should say. Just after these Zhonya's, Emperor's Divide. My team's around me. Usually Zhonya's is kind of like, well, now I just look gold before I die.
Well, they hit him, and Bunny's actually not there, but neither is Immortals.
Gets the hold the Zhonya's. Meteos already used his tunnel, so he's forced to flash on that one, and Bunny Fufu throws out a quick relic for him to speed away with some health on. So Immortals not shy at all at this point in the game. They want to be able to pressure what lead they have, be it only 2,000 gold. The pressure is on. Reignover down mid. Emperor's Divide does not push away the Ragnarok. And now they're going to be going for the fight. Impact throws down the cask and it separates them. Reignover in a 5v1, and the team cannot enter the ring with him.
And Huni ends up well away from the fight. Watch that again. He does finish off Jensen on the backside. So it ends up being 1-4, and I think Jensen going for the game.
Look at this one-man deterrent here.
Oh, that damn shot is Sneaky.
Sneaky's gonna go down as well. Pobelter reroutes from the bottom side. Now they're on to Meteos as he takes the arrow to the face, or rather a knee, if you will. 37-47 on the clock, and Immortals have the map to themselves.
Oh my goodness, that Huni play. I have to see like where he went in that fight to reappear and just crush. Cloud9 essentially finishes off Jensen and does all the relevant damage to Sneaky when Hope was seemingly lost as well for Immortals. They're going to be able to pick up a lot of turrets. They have really substantial death timers, just a tank and a support up. They could get an inhibitor, maybe more.
Oh, the damage coming in. Impact wasn't even ready. He has been one of the last men standing.
Then Huni dies to Impact.
Go
Huni! Huni giveth, Huni taketh away. We'll see this fight one more time. Yeah, so Huni's in top lane. Obviously, Jensen had gone. This is the really early version of the fight where Meteos gets caught out. And then in a little bit, Jensen's going to go for a big play by shifting really far forward. But remember, Gragas is gone and Meteos is recalling. So Jensen must have just felt incredibly powerful and saw Adrian. But Adrian flashed away. Like, that's just a poor play by Jensen. And meanwhile, Huni's like way over on the side. You can see. And he teleports in, and then he must ult back out. Yeah, and he flies right back to his teleport location. So Huni actually misplays the early portion of this fight hugely. Echo ulting back to the start of his teleport location. But then he just kind of waits in the wings to finish off Jensen, gets the stun, nothing he can do.
Jensen just watching the fight as he backs.
And then later on, he's also able to take down Wild Turtle, which I think was the more impressive part of the fight. So Huni like making misplays and then making up for the misplay and then making another mistake. He's just, he wants to be the defining factor in this game, right? One way or the other.
He is Huni.
Yeah, that's a huge amount of gold for Immortals. They pick up a bunch of shutdown kills as well as multiple turrets.
Yep.
So gold is back on them, but the Elder Drake is coming up in 15 seconds.
Huni making mistakes look good sometimes as Immortals continue to pressure in 17-14 though. Cloud9's definitely still fighting back, and one of the main reasons the whole base has not fallen yet. They still get a few members of Immortals down and are able to hold the defense after a fight that they did lose.
Yeah.
And it's the pressure into the chase. No Sivir action coming from Immortals, so they can't get in, but Impact actually gives them the range that they need.
Damage.
They had just tried to initiate, said no, but said, hey, we'll send one in, and then Ali Oxenfree, everybody come over from Immortals, and they're on to Cloud9. C9 Meteos looks like he could go down in the same fashion as last time, just against the wall in mid. And Jensen,
gonna win.
One last shot, he gets over the wall, but now they're even onto his teammate. That's Sneaky that goes down. Pobelter, he's just walking along. Boom, there it is. Distorts right into the face of Jensen, and that's the ace.
Even if Immortals doesn't have minions, the death timers are so substantial, 49 minutes in here, that Immortals can just take the inhibitor and maybe even just face tank the Nexus turret. It's going to be a little tricky.
None of their tanky dude. Yeah. I guess it's just Reignover that would be able to get in there. Huni probably for a few now.
Karma shields. Huni can get his shield from his parallel converters. They're just going to go for it.
The Karma shield is big. Then the mantra is the repeat. They're going to be able to keep going with that for a while. That's one Nexus turret. Immortals looking for the first game of the series here against Cloud9, who had dominated the Dragons, dominated a bit of the early game, but Immortals able to come back and 41-19 control a solid game and take game one.
Wow, and definitely not in convincing fashion, but still the very final fight just felt like it all fell apart for Cloud9. They had these tremendously fed damage dealers in Jensen and Sneaky, but Cloud9's front line just evaporated without really providing any presence.
Yeah.
And Immortals was just using the Karma speed-ups as well as the Ghost and Righteous Glory of Reignover as well as Huni, and just ran through Cloud9, which, when you consider the fact that they'd already accumulated 4 dragons, now mind you, only 1 Infernal Drake, And late in the game, the Ocean Drake, when everyone is full health, also isn't helping you. And the out-of-combat move speed was only going to help. So really, they're just fighting against that 8% attack damage and ability power at the very end. Immortals recognized that, went straight for it, knew they had pretty close items, outplayed Cloud9 in the final team fight, and took it for the victory.
I think it would have been like the bee's knees if a few Earth or Mountain Drakes would have been in there. They probably would have meant the Outer Dragons for Cloud9, which stalled so much of their strategy. Once you have the mid down, we actually saw they got at least 1 or 2 kills. Jensen was in there getting a kill by Raptors, and there was another one. But those 2 side lane turrets up don't allow you to do that safely at all.
Yeah, despite getting 17 kills and 4 Drakes, Cloud9 only killed 3 turrets the whole game. The top lane turret still standing at the end of the game for Immortals. It really was all about getting the right control for that Elder Drake, because the number of Drakes you have when you get Elder Dragon is just massive for the multiplicative damage. If they could have gotten the true damage burn from the 4 dragons, which would have been 235 true damage burn for every spell or auto over 3 seconds, for everyone, would have just won the fight for them clean off. But Immortals, stronger teamwork, I think, made a lot of mistakes that game, didn't tilt, stayed on it, and they were able to get first game of the series.
Good way to push it in. Cloud9 having also